So that's the important question, isn't it? How safe are we in South Africa? Generalized question, so we're going to try and narrow it down for you. South Africans, we're all experiencing a major increase in kidnappings. I'll give you some proof. In a survey of 65 countries reporting on the trend, our country, has the third highest rate of kidnapping. Let's find out what's going on and what we can do to protect ourselves, and what should authorities be doing. Anti-crime activist and host of Crime Watch, Yusuf Abramjee, joining us. Morning to you, Yusuf. Bright and early on a Monday morning. I appreciate your time. Let's talk about two sectors of kidnappings which are very worrying. One, adults, usually targeted for ransom, and then very worryingly, of course, children abducted for sexual predators. Just why are we seeing a jump in these numbers? Good morning.
Good morning, Gareth. Simply because organized crime syndicates are on the prowl. We have many of these syndicates who are highly organized, and they're going for the easy money. They're going for easy cash. So if you look at the kidnapping figures released officially by the South African Police Service for the first quarter of this year, you'll find that the kidnapping numbers went up dramatically compared year on year. We are told that the majority of them are kidnappings that take place while you are hijacked, you are held hostage, your bank accounts are being emptied, they try to find your tracking device. A number of kidnappings are also because the perpetrators are raped, but a large chunk of them also, and that has been a trend over the past few years, Gareth, has been kidnappings for ransom, where especially business people are being taken. Some of them are held for weeks, while they try to extort money from the families of the victims. And that has become a very, very worrying trend. So certainly we are seeing organized criminals at work. You have the bigger syndicates, you have the smaller ones, the so-called copycat gangs. And some of these syndicates, we are now told, are moving away from cash in transit robberies, from other sectors within the crime sector, going for kidnappings because they think it's an easy way to make money.
We'll talk about the police in a moment, Yusuf. Far be it from me to tell you about the lack of trust many South Africans have in our SAPS. What does a South African do? Perhaps someone, you mentioned business people, high profile, someone who earns who has a very successful company. They could be a target. Tell me if I'm being overly dramatic. What do we do to protect ourselves?
Most certainly, many people are vulnerable. We are looking at these days shopkeepers of Indian origin, South African Indians, Pakistanis, Somalis, Ethiopians, Bangladeshis. They are increasingly being targeted. In the Eastern Cape, we saw a dramatic increase. Gauteng remains a hotspot. The Kempton Park policing area is an area where most of the cases were reported over a 3-month period, followed by Delmas in Mpumalanga. Now you ask, what can one do? How much security, how much precautions can one take, Gareth? We are seeing people that are vulnerable. Some of them are getting personal security bodyguards. Some of them are buying armored vehicles to protect themselves. That's very expensive. But, one can only protect yourself so much. You have to take some security measures. But having said that, there have been some good breakthroughs, and that is good news. But I think people that are vulnerable, especially people who might be targeted because of their wealth, need to take all the security precautions, and that is what security experts often advise.
Yeah, and security experts also talk about what the South African Police Service should be doing. Yusuf, I would have imagined there was an organised crime fighting unit somewhere in the SAPS. Where are they on all of this?
Well, Gareth, these kidnappings have been continuing for some years. The police started off very slow. They made very little progress. Many of these syndicates got away with millions and millions of rands. Some of the ransom money was paid in countries like Dubai at cash depots. Others were paid locally in handovers. But what we've seen, and that's the good news, over the past few months, the police now have a kidnapping task team, a national kidnapping task team headed by crime intelligence. And they are very active. We are even seeing private security collaborating more and more with the kidnapping task team specifically, and with the police. And we've seen a number of victims being rescued, being freed by police. A number of arrests have also been made. But the worrying element is that some of these criminals very often get bail easily, only to come out and commit more crime. So the good news is that some breakthroughs are being made, but a lot of new syndicates, I think copycat gangs, are now on the prowl. They're trying to make money, and while police have arrested some of them, it seems a few new ones are now in this market, and that has become a very, very worrying element. So yes, some progress has been made, but not, I don't think, enough.
No, certainly not enough. Yusuf, just before I say goodbye to you, last question then. You mentioned quite a number of internationals coming into our country and committing some of these crimes. Do you think it's because we're now seen internationally, Yusuf, as an easy target for criminals to come here and run amok?
South Africa most certainly, Gareth, has sadly become a playground for these criminals. For some people, it's become a national sport. We know that a lot of South Africans are also involved in crime, but as far as kidnappings are concerned, this trend started largely in Mozambique a few years ago. It spread over to South Africa. Yes, a number of Mozambican kingpins have been arrested. Some of them are still involved in these kidnappings. And also when it comes to human trafficking, we've seen that a lot of foreigners are involved. So yes, South Africa is being targeted. And I think the quicker the police can get their act together, the quicker we can restore trust within the police service, the better it will be. Otherwise, these criminals will continue running amok.
Yeah, certainly are indeed. Yusuf Abramjee, always good to speak to you, host of Crime Watch and anti-crime activist. That's part of our focus here on eNCA. This morning we're taking a look at two big issues. One is kidnappings, the other is human trafficking. Numbers jumping exponentially. Why? Yusuf alluding to some of that and what authorities should be doing as well. We'll continue that discussion a little bit later in the morning as well.